All right, so I just wanted to share this with you. Maybe you've seen this, maybe you haven't. Just in case you haven't, let me go ahead and share this with you. There was an article that was published in April 1900. All right, let's go ahead and get into this one. Let me see. This is from a newspaper in Minnesota. Says Earth is round and he may be thrown in prison. Sad condition of affairs in England. Sir John Gorst accused of intention to teach false precepts. City of Portsmouth excited. It is painful to read that Sir John Gorst, the head of the British Educational Department, is in serious trouble and has been threatened by Mr. Ebenezer Breach and other taxpayers of the City of Portsmouth in the Kingdom of England with prosecution under the Impostor Act. It seems that the schools of Portsmouth have been teaching the damnable and heretical doctrine that the earth is a sphere. So, look, the idea that they were teaching that the earth is a sphere was called damnable and heretical in those times. Just so we're on the same page. Okay, let's get back to this thing. Sir John's attention has been called to this dissemination of seditious and treasonable doctrine, but he has refused to correct the abuse. Again, with the names here, seditious and treasonable doctrine, and yet he refuses to correct his abuse. Abuse is what they call it, him teaching this. Isn't that something? Ebenezer and his friends know, of course, that the earth is as flat as a pancake. They have been patient with Sir John, and day after day have allowed the false teaching regarding the shape of the earth to go on, but can stand it no longer, they say, to see the children corrupted with this most heretical doctrine, as the complainants call it in their protest. They call this is from the 1900s. This is from the year 1900, and in that day, teaching of the globe earth model was called heretical, treasonable. They said that they were corrupting the children by teaching this. Okay, let's continue on. Sir John Gorst has many political enemies, and even his political friends do not always agree with him, but the depth of his depravity was not known until he was unmasked by Mr. Ebenezer Breach and his friends. Depraved. They called him depraved for teaching the globe model. Sir John may cavort about Parliament and deceive some people, but when it comes against a body of respectable British taxpayers and bulwarks of the throne and the guardians of the Constitution, it is another matter. Such newfangled ideas as that of the earth being a sphere he may impose upon the frivolous persons who riot in the ungodly city of London, but not upon the taxpayers of Southampton. Ebenezer and his friends mean business and have served formal notice upon the Portsmouth School Board that the teaching that the earth is a sphere, quote, cannot be allowed to continue under any circumstances, plea, or explanation whatever, end quote, and that it must be abandoned under pain of the punishment for schism by the law provided. After having stamped out the dastardly doctrine in the schools of Southampton, the committee announced that they will go up to London and bring the London School Board before the courts, being well advised and informed that the same doctrine regarding the shape of the earth is also taught in the London schools. So not only are they upset about what's going on in Southampton, they were going to London. Okay, because the same globe earth cosmology was being taught in those schools, and since it was so heretical, since it was so seditious and treasonable, they decided that they were going to have to go to London also and go ahead and try to correct the situation there. So they were on a rampage to fix this whole thing, which makes sense. Sir John, meantime, is to be brought to court and prosecuted under the Impostors Act, aforesaid. Now, the Impostors Act is a part of the British Constitution. Probably no one knows what is and what is not a part of that nebulous thing, and provides certain pains and penalties, such as forfeiture of estate, meaning he could lose his home for teaching the globe model, and burning at the stake if recalcitrant, meaning if he's not cooperative with authorities. He can lose his home or be burned at the stake. Yeah, it was that serious back then. Ebenezer and his friends are worthy and reputable citizens and mean business. If necessary, they will light the fires of Smithfield again for the wicked Sir John. At last account, Sir John was still at large, and so was Ebenezer. Okay, so back in the 1900s, basically what this is saying is this guy, Sir John, was out here teaching the globe model, and the taxpayers of this city were so upset about it that they brought him up on charges. If found guilty of these charges, he could lose his home and or be burned at the stake. At the end, it said he was still at large, so he was on the run from the law because he was being charged with teaching the heliocentric model. This is 118 years ago. This guy could have lost his home and been burned at the stake. It was called seditious, it was called treasonable, it was called heretical. They stated that children were being corrupted by learning this globe model. And that's exactly what's being done to our children right now. And that's why it's so important that we go ahead and get this information out here. Because even back then, they knew that the earth was flat and stationary, and that this whole globe model, it was ridiculous. It was nonsense. Went completely against what we experience in everyday life. Okay, and the idea that they were teaching children that look, that was punishable by death, basically. So that's exactly what was going on. That's why it's important to spread this thing out, because our kids are being taught this nonsense. So when people come to you saying something along the lines of, oh, you believe that the earth is flat, you're trying to take us back to the Stone Age or the Dark Ages, or they say some stuff like, no, people have always known that the earth was a globe, that we've always been living on a spinning ball. No, fact of the matter is, most of the ancient civilizations already knew that the earth was flat, covered it with a dome, and stationary, that we were not on a spinning ball flying through space. So when people come at you with this stuff saying that flat earth is the new idea, fact of the matter is, this is just 118 years ago. This guy could have been burned at the stake for spreading this heliocentric nonsense. So go ahead and hit them with this one when they come at you with that stuff, because we don't have to deal with that. This globe model, this heliocentric nonsense, that's the new kid on the block. The earth always has been, always will be flat and stationary, period. This game is over. They come at you with that, hit them with this. I'll post a link in the description to the article. As always, be good to each other, take care, stay flat. I'll see you next time. Thank you.